Ted Kaczynski recently committed suicide, and obviously I don't approve of the man's actions, but I have read his manifesto, and he did raise some interesting ideas about technology. He's not the first to mention them, but in light of his recent suicide, I'm going to read some of his quotes. Obviously, he was a terrible person. He hurt innocent people, killed innocent people.
Yeah.
Also was a hypocrite in that he used technology in the form of bombs to try and attack people, even though he was anti-technology. So it seems...
Yeah.
And I also think that his manifesto could have been written and published academically, and it would have lent more credibility to his arguments. He was a prominent academic.
Yeah.
And so
We have to wonder
he
whether
turned...
would it be remembered in the way that it was, though?
Yeah, I think that there is a case for that. But I think that he was a very successful academic. He flew through school, had a ridiculously high IQ, that sort of stuff. And so he could have succeeded on, normal footing had he actually tried and not given up. So I think it was weakness that made him turn to political violence. But
Or MK Ultra, one or the other.
yeah, he was a participant in MK Ultra, and one of the things that they did was brutally question his deeply held beliefs, which I don't doubt probably disillusioned him to the world.
Cooked his dome a little bit. Yeah.
So here are some quotes. The industrial technological system may survive or it may break down. If it survives, it may eventually achieve a low level of physical and psychological suffering, but only after passing through a long and very painful period of adjustment, and only at the cost of permanently reducing human beings and many other living organisms to engineered products and mere cogs in the social machine. And I think that hits the nail on the head.
It comes back to what we were just talking about. The view of man as a mere economic unit, a mere fungible good. A cog in the machine. That's the perfect way to put it. And he's right. Fundamentally, he is right.
I mean, it is a bit bitter to agree with him because he is such a bad person, but he does raise good points. And he also says, as a society, the problem that face it become more and more complex, and as machines become more and more intelligent, people will let machines take more and more decisions for them. Which we are in the midst of right now. I think we are in this sort of time when the technology is going to increase human suffering. I do think that there is a sort of a good ends there, but I think that a healthy attitude of blending technology and human nature is acknowledging human nature exists for a start, is a good start, and then understanding it and then applying that to the world. And that's what I've tried to do in my own life. And I feel like I've got some very profound experiences from trying to do so. And it gives me a very good perspective and balance on the right thing between living true to your nature and embracing technology.
The technology question has got to be one of the most fundamental questions that we have to ask. Because, I think I forget specifically what era it was, but there have been times in history where written language, if we can consider written language to be a technology, which I think we kind of can.
I suppose so,
obviously a very basic form of technology, but written language was viewed with suspicion as being something that would affect memory, and it was viewed as a kind of decadent thing. And to this day, we still are asking this question of, well, what's the proper relationship between man and technology? And I don't think anybody has a comprehensive answer.
And I think my general view is that technology are just the tools, and our attitudes shape how we use them.
Yes.
So the people are the things that ideally need to change. Although AI is an entirely different beast, because of course there's the possibility of it having its own consciousness down the line, which is terrifying to me. But also the power that AI already has is also kind of amazing. So I see the potential and the sort of darkness of it. I'm not going to scaremonger about it, because I think we're a long ways off yet having that sort of sentient AI that will potentially take over, so to speak. But it's worth mentioning as well that Carl likes talking about this sort of thing, and he does lots of hangouts. Our Cyberpunk Dystopia series, this is, I believe, part 4, and Carl basically does a review of all of the dystopian technology that is coming out, and I basically nicked all of the stuff for the next one. So sorry, Carl. But anyway, let's move on to this next one. This is a story that I saw in the Post Millennial, titled "Amazon renders man's smart home system unusable after delivery driver alleges he heard racist remark via doorbell." And supposedly he had lots of Amazon products. Yeah. My brain's being fried already talking about technology. It's all these cameras, I swear. Yes, and he had a delivery driver from Amazon, and he had a doorbell that spoke. And I think it said, excuse me, can I help you, as it's programmed to do.
Yeah.
And the guy had headphones in, misheard it, and it's presumed that there was someone in the house that was racist towards him. I don't understand how you can. I mean, excuse me, can I help you? I don't know what that sounds like.
I mean, you have to wonder whether there's a certain amount of maybe wanting to hear something like that in this situation. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just
want to be the next George Floyd, and then you get millions of payouts. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's an incentive there to lie, sure.
Yeah.
But let's presume that he just misheard and be a bit charitable.
Yeah.
But what is not something deserving of charitability is how Amazon responded. They shut down all of his devices in his house.
That is so dark.
That were owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
Or produced by Amazon. So yes, even if you own something, Amazon has the power to just shut them off. So he had things that adjusted like temperature in rooms and things like that. Just nope. You can't, order things on the internet, ask questions from your Echo. I mean, this is why I take the Bill Burr approach to these sorts of things. Why would you voluntarily bug your own house?
Yeah, quite right.
It's like, no way am I doing that.
No, indeed.
I went home to my parents not too long ago, and I saw they had one. I was like, are you mad?
I was going to say, my mum and dad love this.
It's like, I know it's cool and all that, but
and it kind of is,
common
right?
sense.
But but again, the powers that be. Yeah, I don't think you want to have that sort of thing in your house. But it's funny. I don't know if you're going to go on to this. This is a kind of this shows us what's possible with a kind of social credit system, right?
Yes.
Because this would be possible if you fall below a certain score. The powers that be can just turn off your house.
Well,
right?
this is kind of going on to some extent in China, and I've actually covered this in Contemplations before.
Yeah.
Like hotels won't lend you an umbrella if you have a poor social credit score on a rainy day.
Yeah.
You won't be able to hire a bicycle.
Just so vindictive, you know.
And also your associations, it was a regional thing, so each individual city did it slightly different, but you could be associated with someone with a low score, and that would damage yours.
Yeah.
And so it's basically like, I can't associate with you, you've got a poor score.
Yeah, that's so dark.
Basically
That's
unpersoning
so
people.
Yeah.
And it's just evil. It gets between the bonds that bind society together and imposes this horrible quantitative managerialism upon them. And it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah,
I get
horrible.
Physical disgust talking about it.
Yeah.
So talking of things I find physically disgusting and mentally for that matter, the EU and the World Health Organization signed a global vaccine passport deal. So this is using the infrastructure that was developed to vet people for their vaccine passports for future pandemics. So next time they can just spring this on people rather than saying, oh, we're gonna have vaccine passports, at least in Britain.
Yeah.
And they kind of floated the idea, and then there was lots of pushback, and they're like, actually, we weren't actually going to do that.
Yeah.
Never mind all that discussion of, well, maybe we're going to do it, we're going to implement it. Because they saw the writing on the wall that was a line that shouldn't have been crossed. I mean, that should have been locking them down in the first place. But
well, of course.
Convenient
that this is all in place now, though. Thank goodness for that. For the next pandemic that they seem so sure is going to happen.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? So here's another dystopian thing that I've seen, and that is this. I didn't know this was going on. So this is Aldi, which is a supermarket, if you're not from Britain or basically Europe. I think they're all over now, aren't they? And you have to scan a QR code to get in, and it's completely staffless. So I think
that's weird.
I don't think anyone actually. I suppose people must put stuff on the shelf.
Yeah,
and that's about it.
Yeah.
But you don't have any cashiers or anything.
Do you know, whenever I go to the shops, I always make a point of going to a person. I never use the self-checkout because it's like I'm contributing to the problem.
I'm quite a hypocrite. I pay by card, I don't use cash, and I go to the machines. I'm just like, well, I'm quicker than a person, so...
But this is the problem here, let's be honest, but it's convenient. And, I still use my card and contactless and Apple Pay and all that sort of thing, because it's just easier. It's just easier. You don't run the risk of, losing physical cash. But that's how they get you, right?
Yeah, it's really quite concerning. And Connor did a good job breaking down all that was wrong with it. If you go to the next tweet, John. Technology is already estranging us from each other, and it will only get worse. And he goes on to talk about ESGs and all that sort of thing, but I think we've already used up quite a lot of time. So if you want to see this, go check out Connor's Twitter. I'm unintentionally giving him a bit of a plug there because I couldn't read out what he had to say, but it's all good stuff, and I very much agree with what he had to say. So moving on to the next one here. This is a bit of a different kind of dystopian thing. This is not so technological, but the government wants to ban buy one get one free deals, despite their own analysis showing it will only reduce calorie consumption by 2.5%. And this is the idea that they're trying to reduce obesity by telling the supermarkets what deals they can do.
Yeah.
Which is it makes the free market economist in me squirm with displeasure at the fact that they're doing this, because also, well, surely you should focus on making healthy options as cheap as possible.
Yes.
And allowing people to make their own decisions.
And furthermore, incentivizing local produce, natural produce, not stuff that's been gone through half a dozen different processes before it arrives on the store shelf.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a big fan of processed food. I try and avoid eating it because it's not good for you, funnily enough. Everyone knows that. But, you know, you can still treat yourself every now and then. I'm not some sort of zealot, just like, oh, you're eating a Big Mac, slapping out your hands. I mean, I'm partial to one every now and then.
Oh yeah, of course. Now, when it comes to this issue, I wonder if we'll disagree on this, because I'm actually I have a far more authoritarian view of food and this sort of thing, because I think it's an issue that's never spoken about certainly in mainstream politics. Nobody wants to touch this. But the fact that, you know, probably the majority of the food that we see in supermarkets is this nasty processed like garbage.
I've actually thought this myself when I've been walking around a supermarket and I try and buy and eat healthily.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, 75% of this stuff is just disgusting.
Yeah, just trash.
It's like, if I eat this, it will make me feel worse.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, just eat something that makes you feel bad.
But again, you know, thinking of convenience and that sort of thing. For one thing, it's convenient, a lot of this stuff, like ready meals and so on. And it's nice. Yeah. And that's those two things together, you know, it's going to be impossible outside of legislation. It's impossible to stop people, you know, the average person, from buying and consuming that sort of thing. Because why wouldn't they? And, you know, I don't blame them for that. But I mean, I sincerely believe that there needs to be, strong legislation around the food industry. And when we win, that will be what I do.
I think that I take more of an informed consumer thing. I want there to be perhaps legislation on what nourishment there is. So if you want to be healthy, you can. But I take the American view that if you want to balloon up and look like a land whale, that's your prerogative. If you want to kill yourself by eating.
I'm far less liberal than you, Josh.
It's not liberal. That's a sort of aristocratic indifference to.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm kind of flanking you on the right here now.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm talking about is forcing people to be healthy, and maybe that sounds a bit Rousseauian, forcing people to be free. It does,
yeah.
But actually, if you make it impossible for people to buy unhealthy foods, then shock, they won't buy unhealthy foods. They will just buy what's available.
But it also punishes people that are responsible, doesn't it? In that I occasionally treat myself to something, but I tend to eat quite healthily.
Yeah.
And so, like things like the sugar tax, for example, I now pay more money for my treat that isn't a key part of my diet because fat people can't keep their mouth shut, and I don't think that's fair. Like, I want my junk to be cheap.
Yeah.
Because I don't spend that much
But
money
perhaps
on it,
I would say you're probably the exception, though.
I am,
because
probably.
the masses have to be told.
Well, I care about me, all right?
Yeah, fair enough.
No, obviously I care about other people as well, but I think that you've got to be able to make your own decisions to truly appreciate the value of what you're doing in the first place.
Yeah.
If you're coerced into being moral or good, then it ceases to be moral because it's no longer your choice.
There's a much longer conversation to be had about that, but I see where you're coming from.
I'm kind of throwing out very long-winded conversations here.
Just one final thing on this. It's deeply fat-phobic, I just want to say.
It is, yeah,
deeply
of course.
Fat-phobic.
Of course, even those in the Conservative Party have been opposing this, as in this next article. Rishi Sunak is accused of nannying nonsense by his own backbenchers after pressing ahead with plans to outlaw buy one get one free deals on unhealthy food despite the cost of living crisis. And I think they're right to object. And because we're running out of time, let's move on to Scotland and knives. You've got to get a knife dealer licence. This doesn't necessarily go for domestic knives. You don't need a licence to sell kitchen knives and stuff like that, which you think would do the job if you were up to no good anyway.
Yeah.
So
well, we've seen that happen many times.
Well, yeah, of course. But this seems to be just a good sign of our possibility of having gun rights is so far away that you need a knife licence.
You got a licence for that?
Yeah, so my point in bringing this up is I think that we should have like a Second Amendment style thing of, yes, my home is my castle. Anyone who tries to break in should have holes. They should look like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
I think that's my right as a man to do that. And I think it's an abomination that the government gets between me and my own security.
Yeah.
And I have to outsource it to the police, who sometimes will take ages to turn up. And I'll be like, oh, right, I'm bleeding out now. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. And again, to use the tired talking point at this point, I'm more concerned with policing nasty words on Twitter.
They genuinely are.
Yeah.
And I've heard this from actual police officers as well, saying that it's rubbish. And they joined to do actual good.
Yeah.
So I'm not tarring all of the police. I mean, there are some
course.
annoying bureaucrats out there.
Yeah.
And I know Connor's fallen afoul of them before.
Indeed,
but I also know police officers who are really good and actually care about, reducing violent crime and theft, which is the main thing that the public expect of them.
Of course, yeah.
So this next one is just ridiculous. Sadiq Khan just taking ice cream from children. Ice cream vans set to be banned from another 33 streets in London. And this is because of their emissions.
Of course.
I thought it would be like a traffic thing. London's quite dense. They hold people up, they stop on the curb, they limit the flow. No, it's green agenda stuff.
Yeah.
So they're literally taking ice cream from children to stop the planet from heating up.
Thinking about the symbolism here, though. I mean, not only is it literally taking ice cream from children, which is just like hilarious, yeah. But actually, the ice cream van is it's a cute, quaint, British traditional thing. I remember when I was growing up, you'd always hear the ice cream van going around, and that was kind of an exciting thing. Although I was told that if the music was playing, that meant that he'd run out of ice cream, which I believed for many years.
My parents never pulled that one on me, thankfully.
Well, yeah. But again, it's just in the name of the agenda, in the name of this technocratic, managerial, completely abstract idea of net zero, we are banning ice cream vans. It's just so, it writes itself,
If you want any evidence that this is evil,
Yeah.
look no further.
Yeah.
There's also, of course, the ULEZ stuff, where the City of London, if you want to drive through it, you've got to pay a fine, a toll, a green tithe to Sadiq Khan, the pontiff of London.
Yeah, Sadiq Khan's pocketed more of my money than I care to think about because of this. Very depressing.
Well, I make a habit of avoiding London, even though I've got lots of friends there, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Yeah.
I also found this article from The Guardian, which is talking about surveillance and pointing out a good concern, but also terming it in ridiculous ways. So I'm not going to be able to have the time to go on about this, but they're talking about how employers, now everyone's working from home, monitor people's screens, keylog and all this stuff, and how it could be abused and be seen as a step too far. And now I kind of understand, I've worked in management before, and I noticed the difference between when I was there and when they didn't know I was there.
Yeah.
In that people all of a sudden just like, oh, he's here, we need to behave ourselves.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like I was that harsh. I was actually quite laid back with what I was doing. I was quite understanding. So I was young myself.
Yeah.
And so if I can notice that, there's got to be some element of, well, if you know your boss is watching, like if you know God is watching,
Indeed.
you will behave yourself. However, I do think I share the concerns here with The Guardian, I never thought I'd say that, that this is a weird precedent that your employer can watch you, potentially, installing software that can then look at your computer screen. What if you're doing something that's nothing to do with your employer out of work hours, and they have this infrastructure? That seems scary to me.
It's creepy.
It is creepy, yes, but they are saying it targets young female minority workers. Surely it just targets everyone who works from home, you weirdos. Don't make it about that.
No.
But finally, two more things before I'm done and before we run out of time entirely, is the UK Ministry of Defence has signed a deal with Google to use their artificial intelligence, which puts the fear of God deeply within me, because that's like Satan and malaria forming a pact together to do more evil or something
Literally
like that.
Skynet.
Yes. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And then finally, this one was just in the news, so I didn't actually get any time to look at it before presenting. But I thought I'd give it an honourable mention. Synthetic human embryos made without eggs or sperm have been created in a scientific breakthrough.
God, that's
So we
dark.
don't even need human beings anymore.
No.
We can be replaced. We are now replaceable as of today, which is terrifying to
It's
me.
very dark. Very, very dark, that.
Thanks for watching that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters. If you enjoyed it and feel like watching more of the work that we do, you can subscribe to the website for as little as £5 per month and get access to all of the premium videos that we have on offer, including this recent premium video on Daycare Will Destroy the West by Connor. If you want to find out more of what he is doing, you can follow him on Twitter and Getter at @con_Tomlinson. Thank you and goodbye.